Welcome to Playbook for Performance, the official podcast of Shauna Corden, the Joan of Arc for corporate healing and performance. Join the quest to make work fun again by preparing leadership for engaging workplaces. And now, your host.
Well, hello, everybody. Glad to be back with you. I hope your week's going well. So, today in the podcast, to continue on with our theme about making the leader's life easier, we are going to be talking about masterminding. Now, if you're listening on audio, do know that you can catch us on YouTube. We've got a whole channel. We're probably in our 30th video version of the podcast. So do join us out there. We'd love to have you subscribe and follow us. So we're going to talk about masterminding today. So we got a little bit of a follow-up from last week when we were talking about group coaching. Masterminding is probably my favorite form of group coaching, so much so I used to have a business that exclusively focused on masterminds. And shout out to Christina, hope you're doing well. So masterminding is, I think, the perfect entry point to one-on-one coaching. It's also the perfect place to go when you've graduated from one-on-one coaching. Now that seems like a dichotomy, so let me break it down and why I think so. So before I get to that, let me talk about what masterminding is and how it works. So the perfect mastermind group size is anywhere between 6 to 8 people. It has enough diversity in the group. For example, you would not want an entire group of women engineers, because you've all had similar training, similar background, etc. So the chances of you being able to kind of cross-pollinate from different industries, the likelihood is quite small. Now, if you want to do group coaching and you all want to pursue a similar goal, like the next level of certification or a book discussion group or something like that, great. But not good for masterminding. With my experience, every other week is the perfect cadence. Depending on whether your group is 6 people or 8 people, I would say 1.5 to 2 hours minimum. And basically, it's like working with a coach, but in a speed dating style. So your coach and your group would get together, and basically we'd go around the room, everybody say hi, catch up, and then we get started. We're on the clock, literally. And the first person is in the hot seat. Now this is how I do it. Sometimes people rotate it, so only one person goes each meeting, and you get to be on the hot seat like every 6th session. I don't like that because that's too long to wait, in my opinion. So the person presents in a very laser-like fashion. Here's my concern. I am trying to create some centers of influence. I need 3 people who are at my level who can bring me 5 to 10 referrals that are people who have $500,000 or more to invest in my asset management fund. Okay, so that would be the laser-like topic. And then they might want to add, here's what I've done so far. But very briefly, we don't need to hear the story. The rest of the group, including the coach, their job is to share ideas, give input, maybe ask questions, like why 500,000? Why 20 referrals? They might challenge that a little bit. And then they give freely. I mean freely. Like if they have a tool, if they have a contact, they volunteer it, because their job as being part of this mastermind is to make their partners as successful as they want to be and reciprocate. And then you've set a kitchen timer, and when that person's time's up, you move to the next person. They give their laser-like topic, they get input from everybody, time's up, move to the next person. With about 15 minutes left in the meeting, the facilitator will say, okay, let's go around the room in the order we went and ask for commitments. So the first person who's looking for the 3 centers of influence would say, I'm going to call these 3 people and I'm going to look up this CRM system, whatever it was that people volunteered that they thought was a good contribution. Then they move to the next person, and so on. And then the meeting convenes, and then at the beginning of the next meeting, the coach will start at the very beginning and say, how'd you do on your homework? People talk about their results, and then they get into whatever today's agenda item is. So you can see with this kind of format, it's super important that the membership of the group is really well vetted. They have the time, they're committed, they're givers, they're honest, they're transparent. And I've had people who join a group and they don't show up if they don't have a topic, which is super selfish. Or they take ideas from everyone, but they never contribute when it's other people's turns. They're not reliable, or they don't commit for the duration. I would say make it a 3-month minimum, 6-month preferred duration, and the group doesn't change during that period. Then each 6 months, they renew. And I've had a lot of experience with this. It's important that the coach interview the candidates to make sure that they're at the appropriate level and that they will bring topics worthy of the combined value of the team. So, for example, if someone can just read an article online about the best phone to purchase, don't waste the group's time with that. You know, if the question was, how do you make your phone your most productive tool? That's different, right? That's like, I use it for this, this, and this. I have these apps. You know, I have these habits around my phone, that kind of thing. That's different. One of my favorite topics that ever came up in one of my mastermind groups was these were all new to level people who were all getting their dedicated virtual assistant in some cases, but executive assistant for the very first time. So previously in their careers, they had to share an assistant. And they all talked about what are the best practices, what could go wrong, what's a good use of my time, what's not a big deal to me that I should just keep doing, versus I will have to do this task 10,000 more times in my career. Even though it's easy, I should delegate it. And so collectively as a group, they kind of created a position plan and a communication schedule of how they would work with their assistants. And it was things like, first thing in the morning, check in, what's the schedule for the day, any changes, any updates, what has to be done today, signed today, etc. And then, you know, they manage my calendar, and here's all the rules about business rules for how to manage it. You know, they screen my voicemail, they do this. And I just thought that was so amazing because they came up with just a super template that I expect all of them are continuing to use today. So you want people who are collaborative, you want people who share freely as part of your group. Now, ideally, you want to be the rookie in your group. It's kind of like you want to buy the worst house on the block so you can fix it up and, you know, have the most value gained in terms of that asset. But, you know, it may not always be the case that you get to recruit all of these big hitters when you're an up-and-comer. However, I will say that I know some clients that I've had who we went through the process and we figured out who they wanted to invite. And for the exchange of the client, my client, the rookie in the room, doing all the work to screen everybody, organize it, do the logistics, everything, they were happy to have that person in the group. And frankly, all those people love mentoring the rookie. So that's another way you can go at it. Lots of coaches will facilitate these groups. There are professional organizations that do this, where, for example, if you're a CEO, you can be part of this mastermind group that meets once a month, all day. Those are quite effective too, and it creates a community. There are people who can rely on each other, references, referrals, you name it. So that can be super helpful too. So something else to consider in your masterminding. So let me get into why I would recommend masterminding before coaching. Sometimes people are not ready for the intense focus and work that comes with one-on-one coaching. You've got one person who's partnering with you to help all your dreams come true, whatever you've come up with as your kind of engagement objective, and then each session objective, but the coach doesn't do the work for you. And so that can be a lot of intense focus. If you're not ready for coaching, it can be challenging. And so being in a group setting where it feels like there's a little less accountability and a little less focus, and you've got kind of this community support, that can be helpful. And I've seen that work really well to be sort of a runway or an introduction or a warm-up to one-on-one coaching. I also think it's terrific for people when they've kind of graduated from coaching. There comes a point in every coaching relationship, and frankly, I think it's my job to work myself out of a job, where I am their partner and I'm helping them achieving their goals. However, there is a point where they will say something like, I knew you were going to say that. They've kind of assimilated the way that I think and my challenge and all of that. And if they take the time to do it, they could kind of AI me. What would Shauna ask? And so at that time, when that happens, it's good for them to switch coaches, to get a different focus. They've developed a lot of rapport with me and a lot of trust with me, and I know all their secrets, and they will have to develop that with a new person. But this new person will also not have any biases, because they will see them as they enter in that relationship versus where I have seen them, where they've come from. I've seen all the challenges and all the growth. And so it's good to shake it up and have a new coach that thinks about things a new way, thinks of things differently, maybe has more humor, less humor, more of a hard ass, less of a hard ass. It just really depends. And so, but the alternative to switching coaches is to join a group where you're getting the networking out of it, you're creating community, you've got other peers of your professional stature, perhaps they're in different industries. That's advisable. So, what has always been taken as the tried and true in your industry, you might shake it up by coming in horizontally because of how somebody addresses something in their industry that could change everything. And so I think that kind of diversity can really help. And I think all of us could use more friends. And so a mastermind can really create that sense of community as well. So that's why I think masterminding is great as an entry point. It's great as an exit point. But it really is, I can't emphasize enough that you really need to do some serious screening about your partners. You don't want to be casual about it. You don't want to treat it too much of like a friendly group function, because you really want to get results for the time that you're investing in being in your group. So if you would like to form your own mastermind group, or if you'd like some tips and tricks on that, I am always happy to help and come talk to your organization. Or if you have a group of people that you need a facilitator for your mastermind group, you should give us a call. So you can drop a note in the YouTube comments here, or you can reach out and send a note to podcast@shaunacorden.com. Don't forget, in addition to kind of educating people on creating a coaching culture, we offer leadership coaching. We train leaders in coaching skills, and we mentor internal coaches so that they can be more effective as coaches in the workplace. I will be speaking at International Coaching Federation's conference Converge in August. I will be talking about overcoming polarization, and I hope to see you there. Until next time, take good care.